Almost every ROG Ally review that's come out over the past couple of weeks has been flawed. And it's not through any fault of the creators or the publications, it was Asus. So I've spent a little over a week with this device, and it is still just an early engineering sample, but I think they got a shot. Like, I think this product does so much right, it just makes for a way better gaming experience than the Steam Deck. Let's start off with performance. So Asus claims that this has double the performance of the Steam Deck, like literally 2x. From what I've seen, I think the claims are legit. Battery size and battery life, I don't know yet. Like, they told me this was such early hardware, there's no point even testing that stuff. But I imagine in terms of battery life, it'd be very similar to a Steam Deck in terms of just like wattage consumption. But I think if this thing hits like 600, 650, like all the features you get for this thing, I think that'd be a winner. I think that'd be a huge W for it.
There you go.
Now, before we get started, one quick caveat, this is a review unit, and so there may be some things that are different between this one and the retail releases that are coming out next week. If you're one of those people that are looking for a device where you can play it just on the go, like say, for example, in between things that you have to do throughout the day, or you just have an hour to kill because you've got a busy day ahead of you, then I think the ROG Ally is a great fit in that regard. Now, don't get me wrong, the Steam Deck can do that exact same thing, but for some reason, I keep grabbing the ROG Ally. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the next day, an XG Mobile showed up at my house, and I wasn't expecting that at all. What had happened was when I first got the ROG Ally, I'd asked Asus to send me an XG Mobile so I could make a video about it. And at the time they said, oh, we'll look into it, but it didn't sound very promising. And so I just kind of forgot about it. Well, it turns out that they did send me one. And I have to say that every single day I missed it. Like, there were many times throughout the day where I would be like, if I had the ROG Ally right now, I would be playing it. Again, this is coming from a guy with a dozen other handheld PCs. And so in that regard, when it comes to Windows gaming, like, this is the one to beat. Like, there's no question about it to me that if I had to get rid of all my other ones besides the Steam Deck, I would like probably be okay with that. It's just the ROG Ally is the one that I want to keep right now. And so if you are looking for that recommendation that the ROG Ally is going to be worth it, I would say that yes. I know it's $700. I know it's expensive. There are cheaper things to get out there. You know, the Steam Deck can be $400 if you get the lowest end model, but all the same, I do think the ROG Ally is worth that price difference.
Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and this is the ROG Ally, which is a new handheld games console from Asus. And let me start by saying this thing is an absolute beast. Now, Asus did send me this unit ahead of launch to review, but it is not sponsored and all of the views are 100% my own. Okay, so the big question is it worth buying the ROG Ally? This is a brilliant console.
Believe it or not, but this is a tiny portable gaming PC. It's made by Asus and it's one of the coolest devices that I've ever tested. And whilst I'm obviously not a tech channel and I don't do this sort of video regularly, when Asus emailed me and asked if I would like to make a sponsored video on it, after learning about what it was capable of, I was 100% on board. So a big thanks to them for hooking me up. And a big thanks to Asus again for sponsoring this one and let me check out the Ally. I'm sure that they're going to ask me to put a link in the description below too if you want to check it out for yourself. So look out for that if it's down there. Drop a like to help support me. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Over the past couple weeks, I was sent a bunch of updates, but the one I got a couple days ago just hit different because now this product is like 15 or 20% better than it was on day one. So let's take a look at some numbers. If you look at this graph here, the yellow bars represent the data that it collected from the ROG Ally on day one, like running the original firmware. And you can see it's a decent performer if you compare it to the Steam Deck. For the most part, it's better, but not by a lot. But the new firmware, check this out. This is so much better, like right across the board. Now this was the 15 watt profile. And the thing is, you'd only be able to get these frame rates on the latest driver. It just feels so unfortunate that Asus sent out all these review units to so many reviewers, and they're just, it seems like all of that work that those reviewers did and the publications did, it's almost worthless now because of this change. Like I feel like Asus really should have dropped this stuff from day one. This product here, Steam Deck, this is a product that's meant to last several years. Like, this is a product, as awesome as it is made by a company that's really good at selling hardware and ideally selling you hardware frequently, right? And it doesn't deserve that. This is such an awesome product, and I feel like Asus, if you watch this video, you have to support this thing. You've shown awesome support for it so far. Great communication with the audience, and just like, you guys are really supporting this at launch, but I think if you can keep that up over time, this will be an amazing device that will just literally be better than any other Windows handheld on the market. Better than this stuff, as long as you keep the support up. Okay, there you have it.
And I'll tell you, yeah, this is definitely going to change the handheld game. This thing is absolutely amazing.
In the end, I found myself pleasantly surprised by the Asus ROG Ally. When I first saw the announcement, I was a little bit lukewarm about the idea, but actually having it in my hands has made me a fan. And I think they did a very good job at having it reasonably priced. Before today, hands down, the Steam Deck was the best thing you could buy for the money. But here we are with a handheld PC that has much better performance and a better screen, while still being within $50 of the high-end Steam Deck. And so here's the way I'm thinking about it. If you have a Steam Deck and you're happy with it, I don't really think it's worth the upgrade to get this one too. However, if you do own a Steam Deck and you wish it had a little bit better performance or screen, or it's a little bit too big for you, then I think the ROG Ally might be worth considering. And then finally, if you don't have a Steam Deck, but you're interested in getting one, I think that the ROG Ally might be worth your consideration as well. To sum it up, I would say that the only reason that the ROG Ally exists and at this price is because of the Steam Deck. However, if we were in a world without the Steam Deck, then this would be the handheld PC to get. And even then, with the Steam Deck being readily available, I think this is still a very good handheld. I'm personally not at the point where I'm going to sell my Steam Deck because this is the one for me. Either way, I think if you pick this one here, you're going to have a great time.
And so firstly, a big thank you to Asus ROG for sending this out for me to have a play with. This is a pre-release device and we may see more updates before it fully launches, but I've been having a blast with it. So the ROG Ally is certainly not perfect. Windows 11 is quite clunky, I've had quite a few crashes, and I've had to sort of force close applications. Not all games I actually want to play do run on this, although that should improve over time. This hasn't actually been launched yet, so we will see further updates. The thumbsticks, the latency is a bit of an issue right now. Also, the viewing angles on the LCD screen aren't fantastic. I also miss the Steam Deck's touchpads, and the battery life is still a bit rough. So there's definitely room for improvement. But even though this is a first-gen device for Asus ROG, it actually feels more like a second generation as it stands on the shoulders of the excellent Steam Deck. I think the key thing to keep in mind is this isn't going to replace your PS5 or your proper desktop gaming PC. Sure, it can play Red Dead on low at 720p and get 60 FPS or so, but that's not really how I want to play that game. I think the Ally, like the Steam Deck, is best for revisiting older, indie, emulator games, or even streaming with Xbox Cloud or GeForce Now. But for $699 for this top spec Z1 Extreme version, I think it's a steal.